Good afternoon to you, Petri. So local trade is mixed with the JSE firm and the rand still under pressure. Why?
Good afternoon. Well, I mean, markets are still somewhat risky. I think actually what we're starting to see, and this is something that we spoke about over the weekend, is we've been very bearish over the last, year and a bit, I suppose, and markets are starting to show a little bit of evidence of a trend change. Now, we're not 100% sure yet whether or not this is going to happen. Obviously, there are lots of different criteria that need to be filled before you can comfortably say that the trend in the market has changed, particularly the long-term trend. But we are starting to see evidence that, at least from a price perspective, the US markets are starting to recover. Now, I think we've mentioned a few times before, the stock market or equities tend to lead the economic cycle by about 6 to 9 months. So we are starting to see that maybe if we have a strong week this week and the S&P 500 can get above 4,200, for example, we can then start to make an argument that, maybe we are in for an equities rally, and in about 6 or so months from now, we start seeing an economic recovery as well. And a lot of this is based on the fact that markets are generally forward-looking, and we are starting to price in really what the impact of these inflation-related interest rate hikes are going to be, and the market is starting to expect them to slow down. So I guess we'll see how that turns out. So today, in the face of what was actually relatively bad news coming from China, particularly with Chinese gaming stocks and so on, that they essentially want to put in a few bans for companies to sell games with any kind of gambling mechanic in them, or random looting mechanic. They're banning those from selling, banning companies from selling those types of games to kids. The anticipation was this would be really bad news for the likes of Tencent, and that we might see Tencent, thus Naspers process down quite heavily this morning. That is not the case. So the stock market is holding on for dear life here. The all-share index, or the Aussie, up around 0.5% on the day. The rand a little bit weaker, but not massively so compared to some of the moves we saw last week. That's about 0.5% weaker as well. And if you take where we were, just on Monday, Tuesday last week, we were trading closer to 18 Rand 40. We're currently trading at 18 Rand 20. So it's not too terribly bad. We're slightly on the back foot, but so far that's playing in the favor of some of the resource companies for the day. So I think we're in for an interesting and probably a positive green week.
We'll take the positivity wherever it comes from. So the focus this week will be on the fourth quarter GDP figures to be released by Stats SA for 2022. Any spells of growth?
I mean, are your lights on? So no, I don't think that there's going to be anything hugely optimistic there. I think that, I guess, the real question is how much. Is it going to be a little bit better than what we expect it to be? At this stage, the expectation for any kind of GDP growth is really bad. I mean, we saw some numbers being released today from some of the mining companies, African Rainbow Minerals, for example. Now, earnings are all up and that's all fantastic. But if you look at the production numbers, sales volumes are down, production numbers are down. There's all these issues where they can't ship their product. The rails don't work. There's no electricity. Companies are spending massive amounts of money on just keeping the lights on so that they can do business. So I don't think that we're going to see much economic growth, to be honest with you. But again, is this the beginning of the end, right? In 6 months from now, we see it look slightly better. I don't know. We'll have to see. But look, thankfully, it's not my job to forecast these things. I'm merely here to follow the markets. And if the GDP numbers look good, then I'm quite happy to buy into the market. We have been slowly nibbling. It does look like the markets are looking a bit stronger, and might be a bit stronger in the foreseeable future. But for now, we remain patient, I suppose, for the most part. And unfortunately, trying to stay quite realistic around GDP. I don't think it's going to be that great. I think we're probably going to be a little bit disappointed, to be honest.
Okay, let's take a look at news from African Rainbow Minerals. They've reported a 40% jump in their half-year profits. Help us make sense of their performance.
So an interesting response here, because the stock, believe it or not, is down on the day by some 4%. So, that's got you scratching your head a little bit. If your profits are jumping, why is your stock trading lower? Well, it's really kind of stuck in the forward guidance. So there's a couple of things really that stand out here. The price of iron ore has decreased in sales volumes let me start with volumes first. 15% decrease in export iron ore sales volumes, coupled with a 33% decline in local iron ore sales volumes. So just from a sales perspective, they have there's been a marked decline in their sales, right? Plus, we've also seen quite a sharp decline in the price of iron ore. So the realized US dollar prices for iron ore has basically declined somewhat as well, plus lower sales. So that's not really looking too great. The headline earnings is largely sort of offset by a number of once-off transactions that took place that really helped to boost the bottom line. But that forward guidance is not looking great, right? So it shows that the problems we're having in South Africa with regards to rail infrastructure, electricity, just general global economic conditions, it's not looking so great, particularly if you look at that local sales volume down 33%, right? I mean, that is a country and an economy under pressure. And unfortunately, coming off of a really hot sort of period and getting a nice fat dividend paid out doesn't mean that the next 6 months or next 12 months are going to be that great. And I think that warning that they're giving to the market is really being taken into account, in the share price selling off on the back of that.
What about Bidvest? They reported double-digit increases in half-year revenue.
Yeah, so, I mean, there are some success stories out there to be had, right? Bidvest are actually doing really well. I mean, the share price is up, let me have a look here, something like 13%, 13.5% at the moment. It is really running for the hills. So it shows you that the market will reward almost outlandishly big rewards for companies that do manage to survive the storm, right? So we see revenue up 14%, trading profit up 14.5%, cash generation up, headline earnings per share up, normalized HEPS up, the dividend up 15%. So what's really encouraging here is to see the company really taking advantage of, they're a very diversified group. They're sort of, in agriculture, mining, renewable energy, travel, tourism. So they are really managing to take advantage of, a resurgence of those various business sectors or economic sectors as the world, finally has fully recovered from COVID, I want to say. And we're starting to see that, economic recovery really pulling through. And Bidvest is well capitalized to take advantage of that, or well positioned to take advantage of that. Also, they're playing in the renewable space. I don't know if you've noticed how many people are moving into that, and sort of, solar is becoming the go-to thing. So, Bidvest's operations in the renewable space, I think, is really going to be a big money maker for them going forward.
MTN Uganda results are also out. How did they perform?
I'm not going to lie to you. I have not had a chance yet to look at those results. So I don't really want to comment too much. The share price hasn't really moved all that much. It's up around 1% on the day, which is broadly in line with what similar companies are doing on the day. But I don't have any real insight for you on that, unfortunately.
Not a problem. Thank you very much, Petri Redelinghuys, founder of Herenya Capital.